Most people can conversate with themselves, regardless of it being like a positive one or a negative conversation. Now imagine no words to guide you, no voice to help you navigate through your thoughts and decisions. This is something that I have. Many of you will think, oh, you're so lucky, or man, my voice doesn't shut up. That is the common sentiment that I kept hearing from a lot of people. In fact, a lot of my friends and a bunch of my family members, and they all told me that they do have a conversation with themselves. 100% of them. Not one person said no, they don't experience life that like I do. So you might be wondering what goes through my head. All I see are scenarios. I don't really see images. Well, it's really hard to say. I do see images, but not static images, if that makes sense. But I don't really see pictures. I don't know how else to explain this. I see scenarios occurring in my head all the time. Scenarios that happened in the past, scenarios that may happen in the future. And I do talk out loud sometimes. I don't talk out loud to talk to myself. I don't hear myself talk when I talk out loud. Well, I mean, objectively I do, but it's more like I'm not really talking to myself. The reason why I talk out loud into the void, other than this recording, is more like I do this to prepare myself to rehearse, not for like a play or anything. It's more like I'm practicing what I'm about to say, whether it be when I'm having a conversation, when I'm about to have a conversation with somebody, or even for a video like this. So why do many people are able to talk to themselves? It's not like it's a natural human ability. I 100% believe that, because words, grammars, conversation is something that we were taught. It's not something that's inherent to us. And I can only assume that someone or something taught you this indirectly. And I also think this has to be taught while you were young too. And for people like me, we never learned it, or we never indirectly learned it. Maybe we did, and we just don't know it. Maybe our brains doesn't work that way, and oh my god, this is another rabbit hole to get in there, and maybe that's another brain system that I didn't think about when writing this script. The whole reason why I'm talking about this is because like what got me curious about this thing is there's like some difficulties that I have when doing certain tasks, like journaling or trying to come up with what to say next. Most of all, I think reading a book is really, really difficult. Especially silent reading. For some reason, I can read articles, I can read tweets, I can read text messages, and I can comprehend all of that. But reading like a book, and then later on, I have to try to recall everything that was said. I have to read something maybe 5 to 10 times. But when I see something or when I hear something, I can be able to recall that pretty accurately. However, I do not have a conversation with myself when I recall what I saw or heard. Well, I do think this is pretty common. This is a pretty common thing for people with internal monologue. So I don't know if this is because when I talked to some of my friends, they said they kind of do the same thing too. So maybe it's just a spectrum. I'm not sure. One thing though that's very hard for me to do is to translate my thoughts into spoken words or writing. What goes through my mind are scenarios, and then I have to figure out a way how to explain what I'm thinking of into words. So it has to go through this process. When I try to explain what I'm thinking of, or when somebody tells me, so tell me your thought process, I don't have words being thrown at me to myself saying something like, say this, say that. What I have to do is I have to create a scenario in my head. Like I have to literally conjure up a scenario, and then I have to let it play out. Then I have to actually try to transcribe all of that into actual words. I don't have a conversation with myself with these words. And then immediately after, I think about what I just said, and I go back 10 seconds thinking about, okay, well, if I had said this, it could have been good. Or if I said that, it could have been good. Or if I said it this way, it would have been cringe. If I said it that way, it would have been cringe. And that happens very, very quickly. Why do I think that there's value in having an internal monologue? A lot of the times I hear when people say is, my internal monologue is all negative or just doesn't shut up. There are a lot of resources online on things that you can do to change that for people with internal monologues. And with these resources, it's very easy for you guys to contextualize what that even means. Things like affirmations, brain dumping your thoughts. You guys can do that so easily. For me, it's very hard for me to do that because, like I said, I think in scenarios, not words. It's not just affirmations. There's mantras and incantations and all these other things. And they all involves words to talk to yourself. So because all of you are able to talk to yourself, or at least have voices talking to you, why not try to use these resources? It may sound stupid, but at least there is something. And for all I know, this could be that whole angel and demon thing that you saw in those old 80s and 90s cartoons. I don't know if they're still doing it these days. I'm pretty sure a lot of that has to do with morality, except it's not about the morality of your actions. It's more about how you're thinking about yourself. And for a lot of you, you're letting the demon win. Whatever it is it's feeding you, it's very tasty and you want more of it. You don't even know that you're doing it. And you guys have the concept of being able to talk to yourself. Why not actually do the action of affirmations or incantations or mantras or whatever you want to call it? You may not believe it at first. At least you're able to easily train yourself to do it. For people like me, I see scenarios. I don't have conversations. I don't see another one of me telling me something, even if it's like in a spiritual sense. I don't know, maybe some of you see another version of yourself. I don't know. I don't know how it works. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to train myself to actually have an internal monologue. I know a lot of people are going to say, don't do it. It's going to be annoying, or, it just won't shut up, or, whatever it is. The reason why I'm doing it is because I want to be able to jot down my ideas. I want to be able to think in words. I want to have myself speak to me. I want to be able to do affirmations with me telling myself that. And I think I said this before, that at least all of you who do have internal monologues, you guys are able to train yourself to think more positively, but without the whole, this is not a positive thinking video, but you guys are able to have conversations and be able to switch that conversation with yourself. And you know what that means? That means I believe that you can train yourself to actually talk to yourself, because once again, this is not an inherent human behavior. One thing I did not really give it a shot when I was young was actually journal something. So I started doing that. The one thing that I do think is going to work is actually using affirmations, because that's actually talking to myself, even though I find it kind of strange, because when I'm saying these affirmations, I don't really think that I'm talking to myself. I just feel like I'm just saying the words. In the beginning, it's going to sound like I'm talking to absolutely nothing. It might eventually fall into what I currently do now, which is start rehearsing it to people. Maybe I'm already there. I'm not sure. And this is the part where I think it's going to take effort for me to feel like I'm actually having a conversation with my own self. And I don't think this is going to be like a step-by-step process. I think it's just going to happen naturally. It's going to have like this gradual change, and before I know it, I'm speaking to myself like on a constant. It may also not happen in the way that I described it either. I'm just putting out theoreticals, or it may not even happen at all, because I'm already 38 years old, and maybe all of this is something that you had to learn while your brain was still developing. How would I know that it's not even going to work if I don't even give it a try and believe that it's going to work? Because not even trying it will guarantee that it's not going to work. And if I don't do it without believing it, then what's the point of actually doing it? Don't get me wrong, my logical brain has a lot of skepticism, knowing that believing in something will actually help you get results. For me, I have to make a choice. Am I going to be skeptical about this, or am I going to believe it? And I'm going to choose to believe it because I feel like I have to. And I will do journaling too, both handwritten and digital journaling, depending on how I feel that day. Maybe I'll do both. I don't know. I don't think that it's going to have that much of an effect. I do think that it will have some sort of an effect, but in fact, I do think that if I do journal and have if I train myself doing these affirmations, it'll be a forced multiplier. If you don't have an inner monologue, and if you want to have one, then I encourage you to at least try something that I suggested, or you'll come up with something on your own. And you do this because you feel like you must do this, not because you think that it will happen. You believe that it'll magically happen. Maybe. You have to actually believe that it will happen. Imagine being able to articulate your thoughts very clearly. You already told yourself that in words. I mean, that's how I imagine that's going to happen. Or at least that's how I imagine how everybody, all of you who do have like being able to conversate with yourself, do this unknowingly. And if you're somebody like me who don't have an internal monologue, you see in images, you see in scenarios, you see in video or whatever. Now imagine being able to conversate with yourself with those thoughts in mind, and then turn those thoughts into writing, into conversation pieces. You already had that conversation with yourself. You didn't imagine the scenario. Then you have to like try to translate that into words in real time. I really want these affirmations to actually work. And I do think, I've been doing this for quite a while. And when I mean quite a while, it's like 2 weeks. It feels like it's actually working. I'm still having trouble like hearing my own voice conversation. Like like I said, I still don't have conversations with myself in my head. And this is going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort. Because there's not a whole lot of effort, it's going to be easy to fall off. For those who already have an inner voice, you already have the power to actually using these resources by shaping your thoughts through affirmation. And for those people like me who wants to develop an internal monologue, it's going to take a lot of practice, and it's going to take a lot of patience, and it's going to take a lot of belief in this process. Without that belief, it's just not going to happen. I'm going to give it a shot, and maybe some of you will too. Not because I know that it's going to work, because I believe in the potential of my own mind for it to evolve.